I love Harry Potter and I love LEGO. And if you do as well, join me as I build LEGO Hogwarts Castle and discuss my journey into the wizarding world. My name is Cooper and this is PopCultured. I'm very excited to be sharing my Harry Potter experiences with you all while I build LEGO set 71043 Hogwarts Castle. I feel extremely lucky to be a part of the Potterhead community and to be able to talk to other people who feel as passionately about Harry Potter as I do. So where else to start but at the beginning? What was my first experience with Harry Potter? So obviously, I knew this franchise existed before I really got into it, but I'd always thought that this was just another series that I didn't need to experience in my lifetime. How naive the younger me was. The first time I sat down and watched Harry Potter was in February of 2023, a mere 22 years after the first movie arrived. I was simply doing it to prove to my good friend and fellow pop culture member Ben that Harry Potter was merely a waste of my time. I finished the first half of the film feeling mildly interested as I struggled to remember names and places, all the while finding the atrocious acting unbearable to watch. Yet I couldn't deny that there was a certain charm about the film. And it was this aspect that brought me back to finish the Philosopher's Stone a few days later. I made notes throughout my first watch for some reason, so here are some of my notes from the first watch of the Philosopher's Stone. The first installment was pretty good. The acting is pretty poor, but they're kids, so that's understandable. There isn't really a plot, and the actual plot leads the viewer on in the wrong way. However, seeing how magic is taught and how the kids learn how to use a broomstick is really quite cool. Definitely a film I would watch again, but might get bored of after too many rewatches. In all honesty, I had no plans to continue the series, and I felt comfortable telling Ben I had endured enough Harry Potter for a lifetime. Hello?
You want to watch Chamber of Secrets tonight?
Okay. I watched Harry Potter the sequel a week after I thought I'd seen the last of the series. And yet, there I sat watching a tiny wizard with a sword fighting a giant CGI snake. And it was awesome! The Chamber of Secrets was a long movie that I've come to appreciate more over time. I think it improves on everything established in the Philosopher's Stone with a more focused story. Notes from the film. This was another really good film, but my issue with it is that it is way too long. I seriously believe that cutting 30 to 45 minutes of this film would have been perfect. The plot isn't too engaging and the acting isn't the best, but it's the little things that make it quite enjoyable. I think that it does well in managing the two plot lines with the kids still learning at Hogwarts, while also dealing with the Chamber of Secrets. And at the end of the movie, I felt similar to how I ended the first film as, satisfied with what I'd seen, with no intentions to see another movie. Cue Screen Rant article. Why I looked at this, I have no idea, but after reading that The Prisoner of Azkaban transcended the Potterverse, how could I not watch the third one? Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban was awesome, to say the least. I felt invested in the series come the end of this movie and felt genuinely excited to see where the franchise was heading. I loved the darkness of the film. Hogwarts felt so established, yet this dark twist on the setting was refreshing and engaging and held me in suspense for most of the plot. Notes on the film. This film was just great. It had a suspenseful plot held together by some terrific acting. I didn't really like the new Dumbledore actor, but I can obviously understand why it needed to be done. I still reckon that a plot surrounding a wizard serial killer could be really cool, as the story never really delved deep into that aspect of it. Regardless, it was a really good film and definitely a good movement of the story that was seriously lacking any progression after year 2. I didn't really know what I was talking about, by the way, which is why it sounds like I'm clueless. This review doesn't do justice what I really thought of the film. I was itching at the bit to get to the next movie.
Harry! I protest! Harry, you put your name in the Goblet of Fire!
Holy At the time, I genuinely thought no movie in the series could top this. From start to end, I was in awe. It was well paced, cramming in such an interesting plotline while expanding the wizarding world and growing our characters. And of course, I was blown away at seeing Voldemort come back in a terrifying form. Notes from the film. For a movie with such a lame title, this was a surprisingly welcome installment to the franchise. The main plot surrounding the tournament was a bit different from what we had seen in the past, however, it was the implications for the future that really made this film work. The introduction of the main villain for the franchise was expertly done. This was the first film I felt genuine emotion for the characters because it felt darker, sadder, and more tonally understanding than previous films. If only this were to have a better name, then I could think of nothing else to fix. So remember when I said I was content with one movie? Yeah, well, I'm glad I didn't stick to that. Next movie! Order of the Phoenix was pointless? No. Boring? No. Lacking any substance to keep me engaged? Yes. I felt concerned that I would not survive beyond this movie. After the brilliance of the Goblet of Fire story, I was totally underwhelmed by the follow-up. And strangely enough, my biggest gripe was not with anything from the story, but the name of the movie itself. Notes from the film. Easily the weakest film of the lot. The name Order of the Phoenix doesn't even really reflect the film at all. It's just a group that is seen at the start and then shows up briefly at the end. It would have been better with a better name. The plot is fairly weak. Harry training students and them having to follow Harry's visions is kinda predictable and boring, and the Umbridge character is so annoying. The film just lacked the Harry Potter feeling. I feel I need to inform any Potterheads listening that I have changed my views on this movie, so please be patient with me. Although, this next part might trigger you. Yeah, this film was really good. I couldn't believe the same guy that did Order of the Phoenix could also produce such a masterpiece only 2 years later. As a big fan of how movies look, I thought this was by far the most impressive. I mean, look at this shot. It's art. Notes from the film. This was the only Harry Potter movie I thought I remembered watching, but I was completely wrong. This one, similar to the Goblet of Fire, was so twisted and dark in all the right ways, and it had a very compelling story. The acting was phenomenal, and the cinematography was masterful. All of these combined with a massive progression of the overarching story makes it one of the best films in the series. The only reason I placed it lower than Goblet of Fire is because once again, this film is way too long and could have benefited from some scene cuts. I guess I like short films, or I have little patience. Or maybe both. Only I know. I watched the Deathly Hallows in the same day and I felt ashamed of myself. Only when the credits started rolling did I realise it was over. I had finished the journey I started a month ago, and I didn't have time to let the movies settle one by one. The finale felt rushed, and I didn't let the emotional moments linger. It's my own fault, of course, but besides this, I liked both films. Notes from part 1. While this film was certainly slow, it was nice to finally see a movie focused on the friendships between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It definitely felt less wizardly because none of the film was set in Hogwarts, and all of the magic scenes didn't really feel like it was part of the world of wizards. That being said, I think that this film is quite interesting, as not only do the characters learn of the Deathly Hallows, but the audience does at the same time, making it intriguing and engaging. I like that, unlike in previous films, the main characters all felt unsafe. It made the story easier to care about because it always felt like they were being watched and followed. One more note, rest in peace Dobby. Never forget my short king. Part 2 was more of the same. The final chapter of the Harry Potter series certainly is heart-wrenching. There's so much that happens in this film. First of all, I enjoy that, like the first part of the Deathly Hallows, the characters still feel at threat and never safe. However, what I didn't like in comparison is that the first part felt much more apocalyptic. This second part returns to the magic of Hogwarts, but after a while, it all felt a bit too much. It wasn't the traditional return to Hogwarts like we've seen, but rather a battle at the school which almost felt too unreal. Snape's death was emotional. I felt that the Deathly Hallows themselves weren't explored enough, and some of the Horcruxes didn't even seem fleshed out like in the first part. Regardless of the nitpicks, the acting was once again top-notch, and credit to Dan Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson for their portrayals. The emotional weight of the film really hit me at the end, especially as the three friends stood over the destroyed Hogwarts Castle. All in all, a pretty good conclusion with some minor touch-ups needed to make it outstanding. I could go into lengthy discussions about each movie, which I plan to, because I just love them all so much. I've seen the movies several times through now, and each time it just gets better and better in my head. Although I still hope that one day we will be able to erase our memories and re-experience things for the first time, because the first thing I would do is binge movies 1 to 8, and then the second thing I would do would be to repeat the process and do it over again. I have read the books, I have read the fanfics and the lore. I love Harry Potter and I am invested in this series, and I cannot wait to talk about it more on the PopCultured channel. It's going to be great. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of our new uploads in 2024. We're going to be chatting about Marvel, DC, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, all sorts of different pop culture media. We can't wait for those discussions. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on a video. Like the video if you want to chat more Harry Potter, and leave a comment letting me know of your favourite Harry Potter movie. This has been Cooper, and thanks for watching.